Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We got Caesar playing in the background. He's been a little bit out of control this morning. He chewed up my glasses, so if anyone has a hookup on lenses and frames, please leave me a comment below or DM me on Instagram because I cannot see. I'm blind as a bat. I can't drive without my glasses. I can't watch TV without my glasses. I can literally just like do day-to-day stuff where like everything's this close without my glasses. So now that he's chewed them to an oblivion, I need new glasses and I want a discount. So who doesn't want a discount in life? So hi everyone. I hope everyone is happy and healthy and, you know, safe. I am hearing that LA is going to have a new stay-at-home order. So it should be interesting to see if that goes into play. They have shut down like nail shops and hair shops and everything that was already open. So we are backtracking. I'm just wondering if it is going to be a full-blown stay-at-home order again or what. So we'll see what happens. But as I've stated before in a couple videos, people have been asking me to do true crime videos, and anyone that has been a, you know, subscriber of mine or follower of mine on other social media knows I have this weird obsession with murder mysteries, crimes, serial killers. All of it like really intrigues me. I think it's most importantly the psychological aspect of it all. Like for instance, how do serial killers become serial killers, and how do they, you know, just like get to the point in their life where they're like Jeffrey Dahmering, chopping up people and leaving them in the refrigerator type shit. So like I've always been like, how the fuck, why the fuck? And just intrigued. And anytime a Lifetime movie is made about, but like news article, they take, Lifetime is the first channel on TV to take something that's huge and make movies about it. Lorena Bobbitt, Christopher Watts, Scott Peterson. So anytime new movies like that air on Lifetime, even if the acting is cringeworthy, I am the first one to watch them because I'm so intrigued by these cases. So people have suggested that I do a true crime series. So I figured Wednesdays could be my true crime days. Like every Wednesday I just post some shit. Maybe I'll do crime. Maybe I'll do something about serial killers. Maybe I'll do conspiracy theories. But Wednesdays will be that day, okay? So I think I wanted my first video and I thought about it and I'm like, what do I want to talk about on this first video? And since it's so new and so f***ed up and so many question marks are still up in the air and just like facts about this case are so mind-blowing. So I figured my first story that I'll tell to YouTube, although I'm sure everyone knows this story, has been following this story or has been engulfed in this story, is about Vanessa Guillen. She's like literally 20 years old. She enrolled in the Army, Fort Hood in Texas, which is the largest military base in the world, or in at least in the United States. She went missing on April 22nd, 2020, which was just a couple of months ago. First of all, how does one go missing from the largest military base in the world? When I think of military base, I think of security cameras, armed men and women everywhere, off shift and on shift. And how does someone that works there and lives there just go missing off a base? And no one in the beginning could give any answers or help or provide any type of direction whatsoever. How? So Vanessa enrolled in the Army, according to her family, to make a better life for herself and have a better life for her family. And a few weeks before she had gone missing, her family said that she started to act differently, closed off, not the same, not happy, not bubbly, not her normal self. So she had told her family that she was sexually assaulted by one of her superiors, but she refused to give her family the person's name. Her mother offered to report the sexual assault for her, but she said that she knew of other women with similar cases in the Army that got ignored. The Army didn't believe them, or they did nothing to help her. So she just said, why am I going to waste my time reporting it if no one's going to believe me, no one's going to help me, and it's just going to make my life on the base even more difficult. Vanessa's family claims that the day before she went missing, she finally told them that she had decided that she's officially going to file a report. And then the next day, she goes missing. Vanessa went missing on April 22nd, 2020. And on April 23rd, she was reported missing to the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division. On June 9th, a $15,000 reward was offered for any information. It was later increased to $25,000. On June 16th, the League of United Latin American Citizens announced that they would match that $25,000, which brought the total reward to $50,000. Vanessa's case started spreading worldwide via social media. Public figures, celebrities, lawyers, lawmakers, everyone started getting really invested into what was going on and why there were no answers. It's horrible when these things happen in everyday life because murders and crimes like this are committed all the time, like all the time. But when it happens in the military, it raises so many red flags because we think of the Army and we think of the military and we think they're protecting the citizens, or they're training to protect the citizens of the United States of America. Meanwhile, they can't even protect one of their own. So everyone's getting like deeply invested, checking every day on the news for updates, like what's going on with this case. How does no one know anything? How did nobody see anything? So Instagram pages were being made, protests on the streets were happening alongside the Black Lives Matter protest. Celebrities were crying out to the military for answers. Her family was crying out for answers. I can't even imagine like what her family must have been thinking or feeling or imagining during these couple of months before her body was found. But I imagine it was so awful, just so awful. Vanessa's mother made a statement during an interview that if her daughter was not found alive, that she was going to shut down the Fort Hood base, which I would do the same. I would absolutely say the same thing. I would do the same thing if my daughter was supposed to be or was on the safest, one of the safest places you would think in the world, just disappears, gets murdered. I would want it shut down too. I can't even imagine what her mother is going through at this very moment and for the rest of her life. Like, so on April 22nd, Vanessa was not scheduled to be working, but she got called in. We don't know who she got called in by, but she got called into work. So she was working in an arms room. I believe that's where they keep weapons, guns, etc., etc., etc. And she left the arms room, and when she left the arms room, she left her ID, her wallet, everything was left in the room. But she left and she went to another room with another specialist, which was Aaron Robinson. Aaron Robinson was also 20 years old. 20 is very young. Do you guys remember what you were doing when you were 20? Like, I barely remember what I was doing when I was 20, but that seems so long ago, and 20 seems so young. It's just like so young. But he was the specialist in charge of the room. A witness said that Vanessa did in fact leave her arms room, go to Aaron Robinson's room to confirm serial numbers on some of her equipment. Even when Aaron got interviewed by investigators, he confirmed that she did show up to his room. He did confirm serial numbers for her. And when she had left the room, he was certain she was going to the motor pool. People at the motor pool told investigators that they were expecting Vanessa, but she never showed up. Vanessa's phone showed that her last outgoing text was to Aaron Robinson, which he confirmed. He said that she hit him up. She was like, hey, are you in the arms room? And he was like, yeah, I'm in the arms room. Basically, he confirmed that he was in fact the last person to see and to talk to Vanessa alive. Aaron also told investigators that he in fact did leave base that night to go to his home, which was off base. He did live off base. But he told investigators that he was with his girlfriend, Cicely, and I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. I'm horrible at pronunciation on names, so I'm just apologizing in advance if anyone gets upset that if I fudge up anyone's names during this or any of my true crime docu-series. I apologize. I'm really, really bad at pronouncing certain words and names, so I'm sorry. But I believe I'm saying it correctly, but I apologize if I'm not. He told investigators that he was with his girlfriend, Cicely Aguilar, all night, and that he went back to the base at 6:30 in the morning because he had to be at work on shift. Multiple witnesses claim that they saw Robinson leave the arms room with a tough box. And for anyone that doesn't know what a tough box is, I will put a picture of it right here. I will try to find one off Google. It's a large box. It usually has wheels. Multiple people claim that they saw Robinson leave his arms room with a tough box that looked and appeared heavy in weight. They then claim that they saw him load that tough box into his vehicle and drive off, leaving the base. Meanwhile, Vanessa's barracks room key, her car keys, her license, her wallet were all left in the arms room that she was working in, which means she never returned back from going to see Aaron Robinson in his room when she wanted to confirm serial numbers. Again, confirming he was the last person to see her alive. As soon as Aaron became the prime suspect in this case, investigators used a device called a universal forensic extraction device. It basically takes everything off someone's phone. Investigators can look at phone calls, text messages, emails, GPS, you name it, they can look at it. So when they started examining his phone records, it showed that he called Cicely multiple times on the night of the 22nd. But it's like, why would you be calling her if you guys were together at your house all night? And then it also showed that he called her at early morning hours on the 23rd. But again, why would you be calling her if you needed to be at work at 6:30 in the morning? Story is not adding up. So investigators started questioning Cicely, like, excuse me, lady, why is he calling you multiple times in the night if he was supposed to be with you? And she claimed at first that she had lost her phone and that he was constantly calling her because they were trying to find it. Which, I mean, we've all lost our phones. You know, you have your best friend or whoever you're with call the phone multiple times to try to find it. However, their calls were longer than the stretch of time it would take for me to call my missing phone, to get the voicemail, to then hang up, to then recall my phone, to try to hear the ringtone or find it or whatever. Why were they talking to each other on the phone if in fact your phone was missing? He wouldn't be leaving you voicemails. He wouldn't leave voicemails on a missing phone. So later on, she changed her story and she said that when she gets stressed out, she likes to go on long drives. And that her and Robinson went to Belton, Texas to stargaze. And on Aaron's GPS, it does show that at around 2:30 in the morning, he was in fact near or around Belton, Texas. Also on Aaron's GPS, it showed that he was driving along or around the Leon River for 2 hours. When they looked at Cicely's GPS, it confirmed that she was also along the Leon River, confirming that the two were together. On June 21st, investigators searched around the Leon River. They found the remains of a burnt plastic container, and they also picked up the scent of decomposition. However, at this point, there had been no remains of a body found. A few days later, contractors were working on a fence by the Leon River, and it's then they discovered the body of Vanessa. They said that her body was in the ground and covered with lime and dirt and was fully decomposed and partially burnt.
Human remains were found around 11:30 Tuesday morning. Major TJ Cruz with the Bell County Sheriff's Office says a man working on a nearby property found them. Tim Miller of Texas EquiSearch says they were found in a shallow grave near the Leon River. He says the grave was so well concealed the week prior, Texas Rangers and members of EquiSearch were standing on it when they found what he calls evidence of Guillen's disappearance just 3 feet away.
After we found that evidence that we knew was connected, we just knew she had to be somewhere close.
He says they believe animals helped unearth the grave.
how she was found. I firm believer God had a hand in something on this.
The Bell County Sheriff's Office called in the Texas Rangers, FBI, and Army CID agents who've been working Guillen's case. Chris Gray, Chief of Public Affairs for CID, says the remains have not been identified. Private First Class Vanessa Guillen disappeared more than 2 months ago.
The Armed Forces Forensic Examiner has determined through DNA analysis that the remains found near the Leon River are in fact those of Vanessa. The Guillen family was notified of this yesterday, which in turn allows me to come forward and share this information with you today publicly. We're now confronted with the aftermath of one of the most heinous acts I can imagine.
So investigators start interviewing and questioning and literally hammering Cicely, who eventually cracks. She tells investigators that on the 22nd, Robinson called Cicely. He had in fact murdered and bludgeoned Vanessa to death with a hammer in the arms room that he was working at. He then stuffed her body in the tough box, put the tough box in his vehicle, drove all the way to Leon River by himself to stash the box, then went to go pick up Cicely. They drove back to the Leon River to go back with the box that he had already dropped off, and he asked Cicely to help him get rid of the body. Now at this point, Cicely has only been dating Robinson for 2 months. I don't know about y'all, but even if I'm with a mother for 250 years, if he's asked me to get rid of a body, I'm saying no. If he calls me and says, hey babe, I just killed somebody, can you help me get rid of the body? Or I'm freaking out, I just killed someone, can you help me out? I'm gonna say, yeah babe, I'm gonna call you right back. I'm hanging up and I'm immediately calling 911. Hi, 911, my boyfriend just called me, he said he killed someone, he wants me to help him with the body. I'm scared for my own life, please protect me. But clearly Cicely has issues, but that's besides the point. Let's get back to the story. She then tells investigators that when she agreed to help him get rid of the body, they took her body out of the box, they dismembered her, tried to burn her, but when the flames got too high and they were scared that people were going to see the flames, they put the flames out, dug 3 holes, and then took her body parts and buried them in 3 different holes. Covered the holes up and then left. Then she said that she was on Facebook Marketplace where she bought concrete, met back up with Aaron. They drove back to Leon River where they unburied her body parts, tried to reburn them, and then when they were done, they reburied her body parts and then covered the burial with concrete. Now, this is like something that you would see in like a horror film. Like, it's almost like when you say it out loud, the facts of this case, because you can't make this up, it's horrifying. And what's even scarier is that Aaron was 20, Vanessa was 20, and Cicely is 22. How does a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old even have the capacity to do something so vile and so evil and so... It's like the devil's work. It's like the devil literally walking on planet Earth within these 2 people. It's mind-blowing. Now this is where the story gets weird. At this point in time, Cicely is cracking, talking to investigators, and Aaron is back on the Fort Hood base, locked in his room, okay? He's already a suspect. They will not let him leave his room. He has guards out front his door. He cannot leave. He is a prime suspect in this case. So investigators ask her to call Aaron. She calls him. She goes like point for point for point for point on everything that they did together. He didn't deny anything. He's like, yeah. They know that this is the guy. He is the killer. Somehow, some way, Aaron escapes his room that is supposed to be watched and guarded 24/7 and goes missing, disappears. Then on July 2nd, he's walking down the road. Authorities start moving in on him because he is in fact the murderer and killer and prime suspect in this case. And as they're approaching him, he has a shotgun. How did he get a shotgun is the number one question. The number one question is, how did you leave your room? And then how did you get off base without being seen or heard? First of all, if I was on base and I heard that one of my, you know, fellow soldiers went missing and that there's a prime suspect on hold on base, I'm gonna be like looking around, making sure that security is A1, cameras are A1, and everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. How, during all this commotion, did a prime suspect of a brutal murder and disappearance just happen to leave his room with ease, to then get off base with ease, to then be walking down the street with a shotgun? Where did you even get the shotgun? Now, Fort Hood told investigators that the shotgun was his own, it was not theirs. He must have had it in his car or stashed somewhere, blah, 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 blah. Again, not adding up. They can't answer how he got out of his room. They can't answer how he got off the base. They can't answer anything, or they're not answering anything. They're just leaving us, the people, and her poor family in complete darkness. So as authorities are moving in, Aaron knows at this point, like, he's done. He's going to jail. Like, he committed a heinous, unforgivable, probably death penalty warranted crime. So he knows he's going to jail. It's the end of the road for him. And so he shoots himself and he kills himself like a coward, like the coward that he is.
Suspect in one of Fort Hood's Criminal Investigation Division's cases has shot and killed himself. This happened around 1:30 this morning off East Rancier Avenue. Officers say as they tried to make contact with this man, he pulled out a gun and shot and killed himself. Officials are not saying if this is connected to the missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen's case or to Gregory Morales. He's another Fort Hood soldier whose remains were discovered last month.
Because people that, it seems to me that people that commit heinous crimes cannot handle the penalty of their crimes. So like, why commit them to begin with? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you wanted to get rid of her because you assumed she was going to somehow ruin your life. But here you are taking your own life for a crime you thought was going to make your life better. Investigators are getting a story from Sicily and the Army base that Sicily was either once involved and no longer with a superior officer that had also been on the Army base and was having an affair or sexual relationship with Aaron. And out of fear that he would lose his job because you can't have an affair on the base, Aaron wanted to kill Vanessa. But Vanessa was telling her family that she was being sexually assaulted. So in my head, I'm like, Aaron was probably harassing her sexually, making advances, stalking her, making her uncomfortable, and she was probably going to go forward and make an official formal complaint, and that's why he probably felt like he needed to kill her. If Sicily is in fact no longer with the other person who also works on the base, why would it matter if she was having a relationship with someone new? The story just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. There's so many holes, there's so many questions, there's so many answers that I feel like we need, and also that her family needs more than anyone, more than any of us. And I pray that her family and their law team gets these answers, because this is actually insane. I'm just saying this story in itself is concerning and alarming, and it doesn't make sense to me as someone that's reading these news articles and watching these news reports, and it just leaves more questions and pain and fear, because this happened on one of the largest military bases in the country. This is supposed to be a place where people are training and getting ready to be those who protect the citizens of the United States of America. How does one get bludgeoned in an arms room, beaten to death by a hammer. Blood would be everywhere. Blood, fragments of her body parts would be everywhere. To then have him leave, stuff her body in a box, clean up the entire facility, the entire arms room, not be seen by one single person, then drive off to then bury her body. How does that happen? How does that make sense? How is a military base, the largest one in the country, allowing a murder to be committed on their grounds and nobody saw anything? Nobody witnessed anything. And she wasn't even supposed to be working that day. So who called her in to work? It seems as though there's multiple people involved in this crime, and the one person, the prime suspect, is the one who shot himself. So we can't even get answers from him. During this investigation, Aaron refused to take a polygraph test. The hammer that was used to kill Vanessa just happened, also was missing from the military base. And now it's being said that it was thrown out the window when he was driving at one point. It's just all these little tiny questions and all these little bits and pieces aren't adding up. But the thing that's not sitting right to me is the fact that there was witnesses to him rolling out a big ass tough box, but there was not a single witness to him cleaning up blood. He would have been covered in blood. He would have had to change his clothes at one point if he was in fact beating her with the hammer. Blood would have splattered on him, on the walls, all across the arms room. Her blood should be all over the arms room. It should be a crime scene. And yet there's not a single witness to him murdering her, cleaning up the murder, stuffing her body in a box, getting rid of the hammer, and then leaving base with her body. There's not a single witness. On the entire base, there's not a single witness. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this case. Gives me chills. Like, I remember I was watching a news article when they found the body and we were getting like details about the gruesome crime that was committed. And I was just thinking about how she was 20. Her life hadn't even began. And there she is enrolling in the army to make a better life for herself and her family. And the army base is where she got murdered to death. On the base. It wasn't off the base. She got murdered in the place that was supposed to be protecting her. She was on a base that was supposed to be full of her allies, and she got murdered, and there's not a single witness. So please leave your thoughts on this case below. It literally gives me chills. It gives me nightmares. I can't even imagine what her family members are going through. How the thought of their daughter just being their daughter, their sister, their friend, her lover, if she had one, anyone is feeling, knowing that her life ended in such a terrible way. They dismembered her body, burned it, and then covered it with concrete. And then Cicely went onto Instagram posting like life was grand. Like she didn't just help her murderous boyfriend bury a body. I'll post some of her Instagram posts here, and it's just chilling. It's just chilling how she was just living her life after covering an innocent girl's body with concrete. It makes you wonder how people are that evil and disgusting. And she's currently in Bell County Jail awaiting trial. I forget the exact charges she's being charged with, but I think she should be charged with the largest charge, the longest amount of years. Honestly, the death penalty, if Texas has it still on the table, because even though she didn't commit the act of murder, she lied to investigators, helped dismember a body, burn it, bury it, and then unbury it, burn it again, and then cover it with concrete. She deserves a horribly long sentence. where she can just think about how disgusting of a human being she is. And I want you guys to know, in the comment section below, even though she didn't commit the crime, what do you guys think that she should be getting? Imagine being so pathetic that you're dating a dude for 2 months and like you help him bury a body. Like, what do you think he's gonna do to you, girl, if you ever decide to leave him? You think he's not gonna bury you too? It's just, it's... Anyways, you guys, I am going to leave in the description box some petitions for Vanessa and justice for Vanessa. Please sign all of them. It takes literally 4 seconds each petition to sign. I think it's important that we all demand answers in this case because there's so many question marks, like question mark after question mark after question mark, moments that just don't make sense. We need answers and we need to get them now. So if you can, just take a moment, sign those petitions. If I'm missing a petition, feel free to email it over to me. I will add it to the description box. Hold your loved ones close. Tell them you love them. I'm praying for Vanessa and her family. I'm praying for any other female on the military base that has been exposed to sexual harassment or has felt unsafe in the workplace. I hope that this case brings awareness to these types of matters because it's not a joke, it's not a game. There's been so many episodes on Law & Order SVU where they have focused on women in the military and horrible things happening to them and no one believing them and the Army not having their back. And I hope this will start changing things around. I love you guys to the moon and back. Please be safe. Stand your ground and be wary of those around you because you just never know. There's people out here that are pure evil. You just don't know when you're gonna cross paths with the devil. The devil on earth, it's a real. I love you guys. Bye.